right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Just Make It Pretty podcast. I have a really exciting episode for you today. We are talking about predictive AI and just what it would be like if your marketing was not reactive, but actually predictive. And I have an expert on what this actually can look like with me. So if that sounds interesting to you, let's jump right in. Welcome to the Just Make It Pretty podcast, the slightly unhinged marketing podcast for home builders and beyond. I'm your host, Sarah Haynes, also known as the Pixel Wizard, and my goal is to tackle the tough stuff that goes in behind the scenes in marketing and offer actionable tips, creative insights, and a little bit of humor to spark some creativity. I'm so glad you're here. Now let's get started. So my special guest today is David Lynch. He is the head of revenue over at Open House AI. So David, thank you so much for joining me today.
My pleasure. Happy to be here. And congrats on the podcast. Sounds like it's picking up some good traction. So here we go.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, no, this has been such a fun project for me. And I'm super excited to have you on because I feel like I'm going to learn just as much as our audience is. I think that this technology is, probably not so new for you, but it's going to be new for a lot of people. So I'm really, really excited to dig in and get into how to make clear decisions with AI. So tell us a little bit about Open House, what you do. Give yourself a little bit of an introduction here.
Sure, absolutely. And, to those listening, it's still new to everyone, including ourselves. There's constantly a lot of things that we're discovering along the way that surprises us. I think if you can take that mindset into account on your side, recognizing that us as a company that has this predictive AI technology is also discovering new things along the way, it's a lot easier to go along for the ride. How I always like to explain, Open House and what we do, Sarah, is I like to start with, what is the problem today? How do people do it today? So there's two components, two big products that we work with. One is our technology that's on the prediction side, which is OpenPredict, and the other is our sales communication tool, which is OpenConnect. But starting with OpenPredict first, today you kind of break down a business or a home builder when you think of the analytics we provide into sales forecasting, operations forecasting, and cash flow forecasting or financial forecasting. Traditionally speaking, when we talk about sales forecasting, usually a budget is built between finance, between your senior leadership. How many homes did we build last year? How many can we build this year? And then you look a little bit at the macroeconomic picture, but it's tricky to find a macroeconomic picture that always talks to your business specifically, like the kind of homes you build versus the homes someone else builds. Obviously, the bigger you get, maybe the more similar you could be. And I don't mean operationally, I just mean in terms of the type of product you're producing. That's all. But one of the challenges with that setup where it's like, here's your budget, get after it, is it's very static. So you set it at the top of the year, and then you're chasing that if it's a colder market suddenly from where it was a hotter market the year before. And it doesn't update itself. Yeah, you provide the contextual updates, but talking back to that initial budget. And so it's not really living. It's not a living document. It's not a moving document, which it should be. That's our thesis. And so what we've built on the sales forecast side is a sales forecast that's powered by AI that allows a home builder to actually see into the future what their expected sales could be in a 90-day moving period. Now, why is that valuable? If your demand, we call that your sales forecast, so your demand into the future is not where you're expecting it to be, you have to make changes. But if you're using a static forecast that you set at the top of the year, you don't know if it's up or down. You've got an idea, an inkling, you've got gut feels in senior leadership. And by the way, our sales forecast and the gut feels working together are crucial. So it's not removing gut feels. It's like that's what's built these businesses over, decades and decades. But it's essentially a sales forecast powered by AI that allows you to see every single week how you're moving. Are you moving up? Are you flat? Are you moving down? And then we're actually giving you the driving factors behind it. We call them the leading indicators. So why it's moving up, why it's moving down. Why is this powerful? Before, you're going to do a lot of A/B testing to figure out whether this will work or that will work. You're probably focusing on a lot of tactical moves because last week wasn't great, the week before wasn't great, and now you're starting to jump and move and respond in the moment and hope that something will go well, based again on gut and also, your experience. But it
Mhm.
doesn't set you up for a trajectory that you can see long term. And so what we're giving you is the driving factors behind that sales forecast so that you go from, let's say, a traditional dashboard experience where you've got to go in as a leader and figure out where the problem might be, to
Mhm.
being prescribed the area that you need to focus on. So if you think about the amazing talent that we have in home builders, they're usually hired to do a specific task. Okay. So think of a marketing leader, if they're on the ad side, the SEO side, or if they're the marketing director, they're built, their role is really managing a team and making sure that team actually implement the strategy they've planned in advance. If you have to spend all your time figuring out where the problem is, you're not really spending your time coming up with the best ideas. You're not coming up with the best responses. You're lost in the where are we struggling? And so the difference with open house is we're going to point directly to the area of issue, the problem, the prescription, if you will, that you require. Now, let's think of another world where you're using open house. If you're using open house and you are actually being prescribed the area of focus, you spend a lot more time working with your team to build the best response possible, be
Right.
it a shift in your strategy. So your thesis, we believed that this would happen if we did X, to moving to we now believe this will happen if we do Y. And you're focusing more on, this is actually where we need to put money into ads. This is what we need to do with our AdWords. This is actually what we need to do if it's on the sales side. So, how OpenPredict works is it's tapping into your CRM, it's tapping into your GA4, it's tapping into your historical sales data, and then it's using our millions and millions of buyer profiles that we've collected over time. And obviously our secret sauce, which is our AI we've built from the ground up. So we're not like a wrapper around
Mhm.
ChatGPT or anything like that. We have built it from the ground up, our own neural network. And what it's going to do is it's going to take that information all the time, every day, every week. And it's essentially looking for correlations to where your demand is headed and why it's going that way. So you have a much better view to respond and to be on top of the shift and the change in your market specifically. Now, I'm talking a lot, but this is a really important part of OpenPredict.
Yeah.
Unlike a lot of the reporting technologies out there today that give you a holistic view of a geography, of a city,
Mhm.
of a home type in a city, perhaps, this is giving you your projected sales based on your operational performance. What does that mean? It means it is looking at the buyer's behavior on your website. It
Mhm.
is looking at your CRM performance. It is looking at your GA4 performance, and it's looking at your historical sales. And it's telling you, based on how you are operating, this is the available sales that's in the market for you. And that's important because people listening to them might say, I can just use, one of the reports that like I download and pay for like it tells me where the market's going. It tells you where holistically the market's going, but it's not telling you of that market, what share you really have, what you can
Right.
capture. So that's a huge difference. And it requires a different frame of thinking because once you realize that, okay, now I can actually see what demand is available for me to capture, you're in a different place. You are managing your own expectations more effectively and you're doing the right thing for the business more efficiently. Does that make sense, Sarah? That was a bit of a long winded
Yeah.
run there.
Yes, I think there's a lot of processing that happens while you're talking. So I think when a lot of marketers think about, oh, I'm going to implement AI into, our process or whatever, they're thinking of it as like content generation or like something
Yes.
like
Yeah.
that. So this is like such a different side of like how to use AI for marketing. And when I've heard you, I've heard you speak before and like we've talked a lot before. And like I've heard this or this predictive AI, but it in my brain, it was like, oh, that is going to tell you like what lots to buy or like what area to build in. I did not connect the dots like that, how that helps like me in marketing make better decisions. And so that's really interesting. Can you talk about what does that look like behind the scenes? Like how are you connecting all of these things for a builder to get that data?
Sure. So first of all, in terms of, I think it's two-part questions. Like, how do you go about? You have to do a load of integrations and a load of setup just to take months and months to get on board. We actually, when we started the company, one of the things we knew was that there was a lot of tech burnout in home building, and it's not just tech burnout and trying new cool technologies as much as Probably everyone listening to this has done a CRM implementation and it nearly killed them. Some here will have done an ERP integration and it nearly killed them, or an implementation. Like, it really does give you PTSD in terms of having to onboard new technology. Our onboarding takes about 4 or 5 weeks from when you sign a contract. And it's because of the way we've configured it, the setup is very easy. Essentially, you're just giving us editor access to your GA4. You're giving us an admin access to your CRM, and you're sending over a CSV of your sales data, and away we go. We can go ahead and start building. And that's why it's very light touch. It's a light lift from the builder side, which is funny because sometimes builders, we always say, okay, you send your data and then we're going to close the door and we'll get back to you in 3 weeks. And builders go, I actually had a builder we're working with. I saw one of them looked at my LinkedIn the other day, and I know what that means. I mean, what are they doing? But
Yeah.
we're doing exactly what we said we would do. You don't have to do anything. And I think there's almost that PTSD is making them go, am I supposed to be doing something right now? Is there
It's
something
too
I'm supposed to be
easy.
following up on? Yeah, but that's it. Like,
Yeah.
we close the door and then we come back to you and we say, hey guys, look, we have either A, we're ready to go. We're 100% confident in this sales forecast. We're now ready to present the first one. And we actually walk you through how everything works. We walk you through how we went and back tested that. Sarah, that's we're blindfolding our AI in the past. We're saying it's June 2024. Tell us what happens in 3 months. And we're making sure that it's correlating to what actually happened, so that by the time we get into today, which is the 21st of July, and we're running that prediction, we know how confident we can be, and we know that the leading factors are acute. So that's one part of it. The second is we often get asked, my AI, or your AI, right? You gave me these leading indicators, these driving factors behind my sales forecast, but it didn't look at this metric over here. And I look at this metric, and I went to university. I learned to look at this metric. And then I had an amazing mentor, and he or she told me that these are the metrics that matter the most. Why is it not looking at that? It should look at that. That's really important. AI has no bias. AI didn't go to university and get trained by someone. It didn't have a mentor that had a strong opinion about metrics. And it doesn't have a comfort space, because sometimes what people will do is they look at metrics because it actually makes them comfortable, because they go, this is metrics I know, I can see. And when I've looked at these and I've seen what happens, I make changes and things are good and it's great. AI doesn't do that. What AI does is it says, I have no bias. I'm going to pull the metrics that matter the most. And so oftentimes in those first meetings, we always get asked, why isn't it looking at this? And it's quite frankly because it doesn't care. Now, what's crucial is it doesn't care this week, but next week it might pull one of those data points and say, you need to now look at this. And the week after that, it'll pull something else and it'll say,
Mhm.
you need to look at this. And that's the difference. You have this non-biased perspective and view of the world, of your, hello, lights come back on. Okay, there we go. Yeah, there you go. You have this non-biased view that's looking at your data and telling you, although, hey, Sarah, I totally appreciate your opinion. And I know that all the experience you have, everything's great, but you're not looking at the right metric. This one over here is the thing you need to look at. And this is the thing that's driving it either up or driving it flat or driving it down. Right. So when we think about how it comes together, we're meeting you on once a month on our monthly insights call. You're getting that sales forecast in advance. You're seeing everything, the leading indicators. You're getting a key insight summary, and you're getting an advice section, actionable advice section summary, so that you know exactly, if you don't have time, you're reading that first slide and you're saying, this is what's happening. This is what we recommend you focus on. So you can decide to go deeper, but that's what it looks like. And when we get on those calls, that's where we're working in partnership with you to figure out what's the next best strategy. And that's why, by the way, I spent last week on a call for an hour with a new home builder we're working with, just talking about their marketing strategy, their thesis. Like, what do you believe is true? If you do an action, if something changes, what's the action you will take? Because we want to understand how you operationally respond. And this is one of the big challenges out there. You can go on ChatGPT all you like, and you can go and say, what should I do? And it's going to give you, it's going to pull from, if you click web search or if you do research, it's going to pull from all articles, scholarly articles, you name it. But it's not actually taking your ops into account, your business into account. We're doing that. We're taking your ops and your business into account. We're saying this is how you need to shift based on what you can do, what you can afford, what you can manage. And I think that's a big differentiating factor there. I hope I answered that. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think basically what you're saying is like you're taking all the data that already exists, you're reading it from a unbiased perspective, but then your AI also is adding to that and building a story around it that's like accurate to the data. That's something that I've talked about a lot is like you have to build a story around the data, but some of that can really feel like guessing sometimes. So this kind of takes that guessing out of play, if I'm correct.
Yeah, you nailed it. And it's painful. Sometimes it's tough because, we also read the CRM and where the CRM very well maintained. Here's a hard truth. If your CRM is not maintained or your GA4 is not maintained, usually our AI is not picking up certain metrics, like walk-in appointments, for example. It barely trusts it because, like, essentially, a lot of sales team will update at the end of the week, and so it's not or
Mhm.
not updated consistently. It'll never pull it up, and so we'll have people go, "Why isn't it looking at our walk? Our walk-in's been awesome." Because our AI doesn't trust it, because you're not updating it consistently, and therefore it won't take anything that isn't consistent. Now, the cool thing is you as a marketing or sales leader out there, you can decide what you want to do. If you have that walk-in traffic and if you've got a sales director who's giving you these beautiful updates once a week, oh, we're feeling good, we're feeling super positive, this is great, can't wait. Oh, guys, you got to get down here. We're just getting great traction. And, really happy that we're just doing so well. You're able to take that context, you can match it to our report, and you go, I don't know if I fully believe that. I might be
Mhm.
calling BS over here. Or what's really cool is oftentimes it'll say, this is matching up nicely. And that's usually what shifts as well. These are sort of smaller advantages to working with. One is, first of all, we clean up your data big time. So we actually get you organized because we're not going to be the only AI company out there. And we want to prepare all our home builders to work with these AI companies. We don't want you to be in a position where you see another company, they're more junior to us and they just don't have the ability to configure and set things up to put you in a good place from a data standpoint. We will help you do that. The second thing, though, is we see a transformation in how people think because, yes, they're getting the context on the ground, but they're also getting this non-biased view and they can match it and compare and then make decisions accordingly. That's the big reason why people are using it. And, the most powerful users, they don't actually look 3 months into the future unless and I just want you to imagine a line right, coming across the screen, and it's 3 months out. Unless you're going in a spring and it's flat and going down, which is a huge no-no, they're really looking week to week. Because what they're doing is they're going, okay, here's my report, here are my indicators. I'm going to make these shifts. Next report comes in. Did it go up, down, stay flat? Did it change? They're looking on a weekly basis to see how the moves they make and the changes they make influence the future. Sure, SEO and SEM, search engine marketing versus your search engine optimization. Sorry, search. What am I saying? I'm talking
Mhm.
about SGM, no, GEM, generative engine, GEO. Thank you. Generative engine optimization, i.e., this is where you are
Yeah.
configuring your content and copy on your website so that if I go, I want to build a home in Arizona, and this house I want, Sarah's homes come up. Right? That's like the idea, right? And that's longer term view. And we give you that view. We give you head term wins, midterm wins, long term wins. But that's really the secret there. And it does require some kind of change of how you make decisions and how you decide things work and don't work. And I totally get that. But that's also why we sit on these monthly calls with you, not only with myself as an engagement manager, but also with our CEO, Will, from the data science team, and our customer success manager, Tanis.
Yeah. So what happens? I've worked with a lot of builders where their data is just kind of all over the place, or maybe they haven't done a good job, maintaining their data. They don't know where it is. I've even come across builders that don't have Google Analytics set up. So what happens when you have someone like that? Is that too early to implement something like this, or can it help like build that data through this process?
Great question. So first of all, if you don't have GA4 set up, we can't work with you. There's no two ways about it. We're not gonna,
Yeah.
sugarcoat it. That's something every home builder should have live and
Mhm.
running. If you do
I
have
agree.
GA4 set up and working, like GA4 is fundamentally, what they've built over there is powerful enough that on its own, yeah, you might not be using it to drive insights and make decisions, but once it's live and configured, what our AI can do is pull everything and then start to make decisions. Like it's essentially access to pure visibility of consumer behaviors and traffic. On the CRM side, I think this is often a place where people just don't prioritize it. Now, I'm
Mhm.
going to make a contentious opinion. Sarah, which I haven't said in a podcast before, but and I think sales leaders will find that this resonates. So what we find is a lot of the time, the decision of what CRM to go with is not actually driven by a sales director. It's driven by a marketing leader because we're thinking of top of funnel down into the pipeline first. Like, how do we how do we build sequences? How do we manage those top of funnel opportunities? How do we create engagement? How do we bring people back in to convert? That's a big part of the online digital experience, right?
Mm.
And so, because of that, what we've seen, and just think about it, and everybody listening, think about it. Are you literally going out to look for a CRM only to improve sales rep performance? No. You're going out there because you're actually first asking, how do we refine the way we manage our leads, talk to our leads, communicate with our leads so that we can convert them? And then what happens is, then it gets into the domain of a salesperson to have a conversation. That's fair, right? So one of the challenges we see is, whilst the setup on the marketing side, because marketeers are usually very organized, type A, in the way they manage their sequences, right? Like, they're
Yeah.
very organized people. Like, I have a wonderful agency I work with, and the email marketing campaign side are very much that, and they're fantastic. Then what you're left with is, it gets into the pipeline, and it's not marketing's fault, but it's just not their priority to necessarily ensure that the sales team are set up for the perfect success. Yes, pipeline is configured. Yes, there's an ability to qualify and score leads. Yes, there's an ability to contact via email message. Yes, pull in call rail, pull in, whatever calling tool you want to use, if it's direct from HubSpot, whatever you're using. Absolutely, that's all in there. But there's an assumption that because it's in there, we're good, sales are good. And it's not always the case. So because of that, the CRM data on the sales side is not always consistent or not always strong, which means you'll often find that many of our home builders, when we start working with them, we're just not, our AI is basically like reject, it's not even pulling anything from the CRM. It
Mm.
just won't. It's like, I can't read this, guys. And it's not, I can't read it because I can't see it. I can see everything and I can
Mhm.
read everything and I have no problem understanding everything. I just don't trust it. That's a big difference. I don't trust it to tell me where this is going, but I trust a lot of the other things. Now, here's what's really cool though. While we found, and unintentionally, every home builder we work with, and now it's something we start to communicate up front more, has gone from no visibility in the CRM to more and more visibility. Why? Because we give that feedback on our monthly calls. And what happens on the sales side? Well, the sales leader goes, I want to understand if my gap, if the hole in my pipeline, the leak in my pipeline, is really actually at appointments to sign, or if it's at appointments made from the OSC to appointments attended. And so the best home builders we work with, I'll give you a story of a home builder. It's actually going to be live on our website. Is Miranda. They had this incredible experience where they were able to see very clearly that they had a gap in their pipeline between appointments made and appointments attended. So what was the team able to do? They said, hey, look, sales director, I get it. Like, you're focusing on improving the sales experience when they get in a show home, but that's not where the issue is. The issue is making sure they actually turn up to the appointments, because once they do, that's not a problem from there at this moment in time in this month. Remember, that's a big thing that's great about AI. We don't just sit on it and go, if we just fix this forever, we'll be fine. So they were able to go in and focus on that, and it spiked their appointments attended. Which then, funny enough, on the next report, what did our AI say? It said, hey, your demand is really improving. And it's improving because your appointments attended are improving. And what they were able to say to that sales leader was like, hey, don't focus on this. Focus on making sure that, like, you're offering them a free coffee. Focus on using a scheduling tool so that they commit, and you send them a reminder so that they attend on time. And if they have to reschedule, you reschedule them accordingly. So
Mhm.
you're getting into better minutia of conversation around data, and you're not just saying, yeah, I know, I'm going to work with the sales guy. He can definitely pitch better. Is the yeah, it's just no. You want to be focusing on those areas, and so that's why when we talk about home builders, to your question, who have like shoddy data, hey
Mhm.
guys, it's fine. Don't worry, because you still have a record of data, and the beauty of AI is it doesn't need you to filter. And this is the last piece. We always get home builders saying, have you looked at this report that I created? Do you want me to feed that report in? A report is essentially a bias generated set of data. It is a report that you have built based on how you want to view the world, and it is great. It's fantastic. And if it's worked for you, gung ho. Our AI doesn't want it. It wants the raw format. So it's just going to read everything, listen to everything, understand everything, and then it will make its interpretations and say, this is where your blind spot is. This is where your blind spot is. So every home builder that works with us, some of them start really bad, not as bad as not having a GA4 setup. But
Yeah.
I have one home builder that has GA4 set up and they don't have a good CRM, but it's not an issue. In fact, what it's done is it's allowed them to flag and prioritize the need for a better CRM.
I love that. I love that.
So
So
now you're
how
using data to make decisions on tech, right? That you're going, which is
Right.
very powerful.
Yeah, for sure. So how do you use that data like for a marketing team? I get like making decisions for like your advertising and like those are easy like things I feel like that you could get a report out of an AI and understand, okay, this is where I need to allocate budget. But can it help marketing teams with messaging or like creatives or things like that as well?
So this is really interesting. You've given me an assumption, which is to say that, yeah, it can give me a report and it can tell me, I guess what I can focus on with my where I can
Mhm.
move stuff, where I can move stuff away. It's not that easy. That's why people A/B test. Otherwise, it would be A testing. Like we would not A/B testing wouldn't exist. It would just be A
Yeah.
testing, and it'd be like winning every time. So that's just one thing I want to more
Mhm.
just for the room is to say it's not actually that easy. Now, when we talk about content, that's really interesting because it's also tied to, let's look at like your website and let's look at, different pages that you have. And let's look at your top performing source pages. So that means that when someone clicks on a link, they go into your website, that would be a lead source technically. The lead source would be where they've come from, but then the entry point is also another important part of it. So when I look at my website, one thing I always keep an eye on, and it's my SEO dashboard, is I'm looking at lead source. Sorry, I'm looking at web page source of lead or web
Mhm.
page source of traffic. Because if
Mhm.
I write a lot of blogs, right, I write a lot of content, I want to understand what messaging is resonating. And so what our AI is going to pinpoint is more so again where you're having strong return users, where your desktop session duration is now increasing across your website. And so it's going to prioritize that and tell that to you, but it's not going to tell you what content to write. Absolutely not. Sure,
Mhm.
in our insights call, knowing your strategy, knowing your thesis in terms of what you believe to be true, i.e., if we do this, or we talk about this, or we talk about that, we'll move it in this direction. What we can do is tell you that, hey, those changes you're making is improving the type of retention that you have from a desktop. Why is that good? Is because we all know it's like a car. Like people don't just, some people do, but like a lot of people need a screen that's big to make that kind of serious decision about whether they're going to buy a home or not. And so what we're able to tell you is, yeah, so these are the best relationships we have. We've implemented a new gate because what we want to do is we want to stop just giving away stuff for free to people to look at, other companies out there, other marketplaces out there. We want to give some gating so that we can provide a degree of, understanding where the intention is with our buyers, how intentional, how serious they are. And we'll be able to tell you really quickly, yeah, your engagement has fallen off pretty quick here. We can see, and this is that I want to talk to this. It's called rate of change, which I'll talk to in a second. But we can pretty much pinpoint, yeah, the changes you've made is working really well. Maintain or the
Mhm.
changes you've made is starting to turn things around. So keep moving in that direction. And that would be tied to content. That would be tied to everything across your website. But no, are we telling you say this word and say that word? No, we don't do that. That's not our, because we also believe you have the team to do that. The problem is your team are just testing multiple things. The problem is your team are under executive pressure to change something. And I just want to tell a quick kind of story. Like I worked in a marketing agency and I worked for two home builders. And I was running the ad side, and I felt every 2 weeks I was getting on a call and we were being asked to change it in a new direction, change the copy, change the landing page experience. Now, for all on the call who aren't marketing, it takes 2 weeks for Google to actually not only just accept, but also adopt this algorithm to your new material, which means we were basically not visible because now there
Mhm.
wasn't much I could do. I was a client success manager. So I just was like, fine, but this doesn't sound good to me. This is
Yeah.
stopping that. It's allowing you to understand when you make shifts and changes across your website, how is it improving your output? Now, some marketers might be saying, but I don't necessarily know, like we make lots of changes. You do know because if you're organized, you know what changes you've made in the last couple of weeks, in the last 2 weeks. So you know what changes you've made across your website that have started to show that improvement. And that's why I want to talk to this last piece that's fundamental to our AI. It's a metric called rate of change. Rate of change, really easy to explain it, is a car when it's accelerating forward and it's driving forward at 5 miles an hour, there is no rate of change. It is moving at the same direction. So moving in the same direction forward and it is moving at the same speed. Does that make sense, Sarah?
Yeah.
No rate of change. If I
Yeah.
decide to accelerate the car to 10 from 5, that is a large rate of change. It's double. If I
Mhm.
accelerate to 60, it's a huge rate of change. Rate of change is really important because most people look at volume, like have we improved the number of website organic or paid and session duration? But it's the rate of change of those metrics is where it gets powerful because they're the leading indicators to tell you, hey, what you've changed is starting to see a shift or it's
Mhm.
flat. And that's really important because if the car starts not only decelerating, but actually starts to go in reverse, that's a
Mhm.
negative rate of change. It goes below the line. And now, although it looks like your organic is slowing, it's not. It's actually starting to pull back and go down. And so those are the kind of metrics we're showing you so that well in advance as a marketing leader or as a sales leader, like for example, one that came up with one of our home builders was OSC booked appointments. And the other
Mhm.
one was OSC call-ins.
Mhm.
It's two metrics, right? Now you might
Mhm.
go, what's your volume this week? Oh, we had 10. Okay, what's your volume next week? We had 9. We're actually giving you the rate of change, which means you're seeing really starkly, hey, like this is starting to fall. This is not like, don't wait, which a lot of people will do. So that's one of the bigger things that you really get from it. But I do want to say for the audience, this is a very different way of thinking. I
Mhm.
totally appreciate that a lot of time you're going to work with agencies and companies, and it's really just to be told, like, this content works, do this content. But
Mhm.
actually, if you're I don't know. Simon Sinek talks about the infinite game versus the finite game. The finite game is like, what are they doing? I'm going to do that. That is
Mhm.
somewhat important. The infinite game is, what are we doing and how can we do better? That is what OpenPredict is really there for. It is looking at your ops performance and asking you, where can we eke out more? Where can we do better? Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you've talked a lot about OpenPredict, and I know you have two different products. You have OpenConnect and OpenPredict. And maybe some of that you've already talked about it. Could you break down like those two, what the differences are and like how they work
Sure.
together or impact?
Yeah, so quick summary again, OpenPredict is a predictive AI technology. And what we're doing is for marketing to be aware, but also I know a lot of marketeers that listen to this will also be tied a little bit to the cash flow of the business. One
Mhm.
is we're giving you a sales forecast that's powered by AI, that is a real-time running sales forecast. And we're giving you the leading indicators that move that forecast up or down. We are prescribing you the medicine as to where you need to focus your time. We
Mhm.
do the same for your finance team. We are prescribing you the medicine. And we're actually on that side because we're one of the only companies that tap into your CRM, your GA4, all your sales marketing data, and
Wow.
your ERP. And our AI reads both,
Mhm.
right? Which is not the norm. On that side, we're giving you a view of your cash flow. So it's a real time running cash flow. And we're giving you the reasons why it's going up, why it's going down. And we also can run simulations, what if scenarios. So I want to see what happens if I build this much spec versus pre sale. And then finally, we're doing the same on ops, which is we're actually telling you, hey, like your cycle time is this much because of these last 5 homes in this community. So that's OpenPredict. OpenConnect, the future of OpenConnect and what we're doing right now is we are building an all-encompassing communication tool for home builders. We're starting on the sales side, which is essentially our sales communication app, which allows a few things to happen. Number one, we've heard a lot of sales reps and users talk about how CRMs are really difficult to use, or they're just don't want to use it. Now,
Yeah.
we know salespeople, and I had this conversation with a sales leader. Salespeople, like me, always choose the fastest route to an end. We're not like marketeers. We will not go and look at all the routes and then we'll go and assess like we will take the fastest route to the end. That's why salespeople will write down people's contact information on a notepad, on a card. That's why you'll give out a business card. That's why in my phone right now, I have a lot of numbers that have no names attached to them in my missed calls from last week. And you want to know something crazy? I know who they are. Like I can call them and I know because I memorized the last 3 digits.
And that's
How
easier
crazy
for
is that?
you than putting in the name.
But it's easier than I gotta go in a HubSpot and then I gotta go find the and I have to
Yeah.
I gotta log in. Oh, two-factor. Okay. So the idea behind it is we've basically built what is a layer that is completely connected to your CRM, which means that first of all, any leads that convert that go to a community or go to the OSC can be transferred directly to a rep. And quote unquote, from one rep who told me this, is like, it's the first tool I've used where I could be in the gym lifting, lead comes in, and it's like a dating app. I get everything in front of me about the client, and I can immediately generate a response, start talking, and then I can go back and do a set. So that's like the first step is making it so that sales reps choose it because it's easier than any other way to do it. The
Yeah.
second part, which we've already done, is we've integrated into the CRM, which means every time they talk, anytime they say anything, it goes back into the CRM. It enhances the buyer profile in the CRM. So if they talk about budget, shunk, slots into the budget piece under your CRM. Right. If they talk about this, that, these, those, it automatically updates those pieces. But here's where it gets exciting for marketing. Marketing soon will have reports sent to them from our sales communication tool telling you while you're talking about this online, because we'll have an email that's tagged to your email marketing, like as a subscriber,
Mhm.
they're talking about this, and here's the gap.
Oh, that's awesome.
So today, just everybody listening, how do you figure out that gap? You talk to your sales director.
Yeah.
The sales director only has so much time to summarize, but now you're actually getting AI to go in and look at the gap in messaging. And it's the other way around as well. It's actually telling salespeople, this is performing incredibly well online and you don't talk about it. Buddy, let's get after it here. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the second part to the story. Obviously,
Mhm.
we've call rail integrated. So it means that we're also recording transcriptions. So all of that is also being fed. The final piece, which we're already doing as well with our home builders, is we're not giving like, how can I put this without being rude? When you're giving feedback to a salesperson,
Mhm.
normally speaking, you look at two salespeople and you go, who's booking more appointments? Who's signing more deals? There's a book called Cracking the Sales Management Code. It's fantastic. And it talks about you have business objectives, which is often revenue related,
Mhm.
and they're tied to sales objectives. And then you have sales activities. And sales activities are more like how many calls, how many emails, how many responses are you giving, and how quickly do you respond? If you are using the new Homestar way, are you using the new Homestar way within the response that you provide? Are you using the Jeff Shure way within the response you provide? Or
Yeah.
like me, David Sandler, or Crack the Sale, or Olin Claff, Pitch Anything. Like that's the kind of stuff I use. Am I actually using that? And what we're now able to do is we're able to show you, Sarah and David, two salespeople. We can give you the performance from not just the number stuff. Sarah's responded within this time on average,
Mm.
and Sarah's gotten this many responses to her responses versus David. We can also show you contextually whether Sarah is sticking to the playbook that she's been taught or not. And here's where it gets cool. The data has shown that some reps will have 60% response rate. Sorry, so they'll have, say, they'll respond in 2 hours, 60% response rate from the client, but they'll
Mhm.
have 0% of the insert sales training way. And right. And then others who use all the sales training will
Mhm.
actually have a lower response rate. We had one guy who has had a 0% score because we can use, now this is using Gen AI, really easy, like chat and stuff, like pulled
Mhm.
an API in. We could see that this guy wasn't using it at all. And his response rate was 85%. And his ability to book appointments was the best out of everyone. What does that tell you? It means that we believe, this is our thesis now, that you need to train salespeople based on how they sell, not based on how you would like them to sell holistically. Because if they're a performer and you've hired them because they can sign deals and they can move stuff through the funnel, you want to focus more on how do I improve this person comparing to other people? What can I pick up? So the long vision there for OpenConnect is when a sales manager sits down with an end user, you're saying, hey, Sarah, you're awesome. Everything's going really well. But here's what we noticed. We noticed that David's agenda sets it up in about 45 seconds. You take 3 minutes. And so what we want you to do is cut that down to a minute 30 if you can. Does that work for you? Yeah, sure. That makes sense to me. Secondly, though, David, Sarah's closing to book an appointment usually takes 2 minutes. You take five. And what we've seen is you're booking less appointments. Can you try cutting that down and refining it? Because what we're seeing is a lot of humming and hawing. I'm not talking to any sales leader or any sales trainer. What I'm doing is I'm using what is working in the moment.
Mm.
And that's crucial about AI. You're
Yeah.
not going, okay, we signed up for this program. Here we go, guys. We're going to use this for the next 15 years. This is going to be awesome. No, and that's an exaggeration. Sign up for the next year. You're literally going month to month and you're saying, oh shit, Sarah, your agenda was actually obviously performing better because your appointments have dropped slightly and David's appointments have also dropped. And so what we want to do is actually improve the formulation of the agenda. Let's focus on that. You're getting a lot more specific down to the salesperson. Now, to
Mhm.
some people, that might sound like minutia, but that's the kind of sales training I do at Open House. I listen to Firefly's call recordings. I listen with my colleagues, and I love to sit there and watch them go, "Oh, I don't know why I said that. I shouldn't have- yeah." Or I'll hear them be like, set up the agenda and it's taken ages for them to get through it. And you're like, oh my God. The goal of Open Connect is long term, it will be a communication tool across the gamut of home building, and it will be plugged into our prediction technology, meaning that
Mhm.
I can basically have a site soup arrive to a bunch of homes under construction, and he'll just ask, she'll ask, what am I focusing on today? These last 5 homes over here. Do I need to give that person feedback on how to teach someone to drywall better or how to tell someone to kick on? No, I just need to prescribe the area of focus. And what Open Connect will do is it'll be that cap of communication across the gamut, across the board. But the short term win is this: if we get end users, which are the sales reps, who have been using their processes before because we're plugged into your CRM, Sarah, you ready for this? And they log in and they start using it, and we tell them that your response rate has improved by 4x, do you think an end user is going to stop using our tool? Because I can see that. All I have to do is like plug in your CRM and I can see historically how your response rate's been before. It's fucking
Yeah.
easy. No problem. No, excuse my French. I swear a little bit.
That's okay.
It's money though. So I swear the least amount of money. So that's where we're going. That's our focus. Our focus is that end users become obsessed because it's essentially
Mhm.
a combination of a communication tool like Slack and a dating app where it's fast, you can respond quick, you can get things moving, and you can get them to appointment effectively. At the same time, marketing are winning because they're getting more enriched content around the buyer profile.
Mhm.
And they're also getting holistic feedback to say, stop talking about this. Nobody fucking cares. Or keep talking about this.
Yeah.
Rep, start talking about this. You're
Mhm.
not talking about it enough. So you're being a lot more insightful in the moment rather than just like, and don't get me wrong, like I followed, David Sandler from the 70s. So I also have my frameworks, but you need to be, especially, and this is why I love tougher markets, I think, because people get more innovative. It's
Yeah.
about really being on top of what people are in need of, what they're in pain of, what they're looking for, so that you can actually think not only about selling today, but that kind of feedback can go to an executive level to say, like, you're building houses that are 7,000 square feet and nobody can get a fucking mortgage.
Mhm.
And you have all these lots coming up in 2027. What are we doing? Right.
Yeah.
And so the power holistically of where Open Connect is going is short term, it's just way easier for end users, for salespeople. And that's who we want to convince, because we believe if we convince salespeople, sales managers will have no choice but to be like, this is the game. These guys are using this and it is changing the way they perform. I
Mhm.
need to also pull in these reports. Marketing are going to love it because they get to, back to my thesis, keep using the CRM they love. They're
Mhm.
not being under pressure by executive leadership to say, these reps aren't, you got to go find another CRM. You got to go get another one because it's just not working. Or we're going to go hire in a consultant to go and teach everyone how to use CRM. No, everything is being pulled into the CRM and it's super cheap. And marketing are now loving it because they're like, I don't want to leave this go. These guys are using this tool and our buyer profiles are being enriched all the time. This is incredible. So that's like I mean, a lot of that is already live today with Open Connect. The long-term vision though is, and I go back to a dating app with a combination of, I suppose, marketing. And this is the big one for me that I'm excited about. And I just want to openly say to everyone on the call that, like, I don't always follow up with old leads either. Like, I suck at it. Like,
Yeah.
I'm a sales guy, right? So I'm looking at what the fastest path forward, which is who's in front of me today. But imagine a world where I go into my app, I have 20 minutes in the morning before I get into moving in the show home. People start coming in, and I can go in and I say start, like catch up in Slack, and I literally just start going, replying. And I don't need to think about whether that lead was generated this morning, whether it's 3 months old, whether it's a month old, whether it's a day old. The thesis is that our AI will be able to categorize based on your scoring system and our scoring system who you should be messaging next. That means a salesperson, before getting going in the show home, has already talked to 60 people,
Mhm.
and that's from the gamut of older leads to newer leads, you name it. That's that right there is our thesis. That's our belief. It doesn't mean we're right. It's just our belief. And we are playing the infinite game at Open House, and we believe that is what's going to win.
Yeah. Well, I
That
think
was a
once you
rant. Sorry for everyone.
That's okay. That's okay. I feel like once you start like connecting teams too, like that just becomes more and more clear, that the benefits of that. And I'm always talking about like we have sales and marketing has to talk. We are working towards the same exact goal. Like we have to talk, but it's not always easy to like you in marketing's gonna ask questions and then do they get the right answers? Sales is, your campaign didn't work. And we're like, okay, why? What did you hear? There's a lot of communication gaps. So I love a tool like that makes it a lot easier for everyone to communicate and get the actual information that they need in the way that they need it. So I feel like that's gonna be so powerful. So I love it. I do want to ask you though, builders and just people in general, not really just builders, but people in general they're leery of tech sometimes and they don't want to integrate it or when they're like hold back. So what do you feel are the things that hold builders back from integrating tech like this and how do you convince them that this is going to be a good idea? Give me your sales pitch.
Yeah. First of all, you should be leery. Be skeptical and only pick technology companies. So this is so interesting, and it ties back as well to how you hire salespeople in
Hmm.
tech companies. I had a really interesting conversation with the leader of another tech company this week, and it was all the thing about: do you hire a really good SaaS salesman, or do you hire someone who's very connected in the space? And I believe now we've come to a new age of sales in B2B where you need to either make that decision or hire a unicorn, which they've experienced in both, and you need to decide if you're going to be that salesperson in that space. You need to decide if this is going to be your industry, because now for home builders to really trust you and not be skeptical and not be cynical and not be like just another one, another dart in the wall, they need to know that you're committed to the space as well, because they want the insights of someone who understands their pain, understands the opportunity for gain. So don't always be skeptical. The second part is you should be looking for, and it's tied to this, a partner, especially with AI technologies. What you're looking for is someone who is listening to you all the time, but also you're listening to them and you're seeing their priorities and where they're going. You have incredibly transparent communication about the trajectory of both businesses so that as a partnership, you're prioritizing the right things first to last. And that when that tech company isn't prioritizing something, it's really clear. It's fundamentally clear. I had a call this morning with a home builder and we had the same conversation. But I started by saying, hey, this is how we go about building at Open House. And really, if it's not a fit for not just everyone, but if it's not something that's going to make the end user life easier, these salespeople on the call, then we can't build it. And their answer was, that's really refreshing. And I said, why? It's like, because you're just telling me how you're thinking and how you go about doing things. And so now I can have a much easier conversation with you because I know where your priorities lie and we can have a better debate. So I did a talk at ULI at the Urban Land Institute, and it really, the theme of it was really easy. It's like for home builders looking at technologies and especially AI technologies, you need to be looking at companies that are willing to be a partner to you, sit down and take that time to understand your business and understand where the pain is and where the opportunity is going. And you need to let them challenge you. If you don't have a marketing thesis that's strong, it's okay, but don't hide. Don't be like, I'm not going to share that. No, like this, if they're the right partner, they're going to sit down with you and they're going to really challenge you across the gamut. And it's only to make you perform better. It's only to give you better actionable insights. And it's only so that the product performs for you. That's my only advice. Keep being skeptical, but the minute you see someone who has the ability to use, situation, complication, solution, go through that deeper, experience of understanding your pain, that's where you need to start thinking, okay, I want to have deeper conversations with these people, because that's a real relationship. It's not just me buying pints at a pub and being like, hey, how are you? It's great to see you. The ones like Sarah, I think you probably be with me on this. I don't mind if people don't like me, but I certainly want that if they're in the shitter, I want them to call my phone first and be like, hey, I fucked up. Oh yeah, I need to fix this. Or hey, I need your advice on this. We're looking at doing this. And it doesn't, and the best partners, by the way, will talk to you about tech in general. Like they'll just be there for you. Like it's not a lot of work for me to hop in a call 15 minutes and be like, don't do that. Don't pick that. And here's why. This is my perspective. It's not like an opinion. I have no ties. I don't care who it
Mhm.
is. That's a partner you want. That's how you should be thinking. So don't think about the tech and being skeptical. Think about the partner.
Yeah, that's very good advice. Very good advice. I know that we're running out of time here, and I have so many more questions that I want to ask you. If someone like me has more questions and wants to learn more about what you guys do or everything we talked about today, how could they do that? How would they get in contact with you?
Yeah, sure. First of all, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. I mean, anytime, just shoot me a message. And we'll usually set up a call and just have a discovery conversation. You can also go to our website if you just want to go through a generic way, or you can email me directly at dlynch@openhouse.ai. And if, by the way, you're looped in with my sales team to set up times, it's because we're trying to build a very efficient sales funnel. It's not because it's impersonal. It's just because it means that Dave, who's a messy guy, talked to Sarah, trying to organize events for me in the past. I'm a fucking disaster. It can be difficult. And so that's why we've built this process so you get spoken to as efficiently as possible. And if we ask you questions in advance, what brought you here? Why are you interested? It is not just about qualifying you. It's about making sure that when we get on the call, we understand where you're coming from. That's all.
Absolutely.
I hope
Okay, so
that's helpful.
I will put all those links too, if I remember. Sometimes I forget, but I will try to remember to put all of the links for you down below in the comment box or the description box, so that people can just click there. Any other last words before we end our episode?
Yes. One last word. It's crap out there at the moment. And I know that every part of us wants to batten down the hatches. And I know some of us just unfortunately have to. But if you have partners out there, they're willing to move on things for you and they're willing to support you. Just give them the insight in terms of where you believe it's coming from, where the pain is, and why you're not struggling, and be vulnerable. Just be open to them giving you feedback and getting in the weeds with you, because I think sometimes home builders go, they're just a tech, they just do this, but you'd be very pleasantly surprised. A lot of us technologists, we really honestly fundamentally we're just obsessed with solving problems using tech. That's really it. So if you give us the time of the day to sit down and throw things against the wall and you are visceral and you are honest, you'll get the best bang for your buck out of that experience. And the beauty of it is, if it doesn't work with that home a tech company right now, everybody understands why. And so that's really it. It's a shit time, but I do really believe that also these are the times where the most innovative things happen and people think differently. And I think that's just, you want to take advantage of that as a home builder. And that's it, really. And I say it to tech companies out there as well, gang, open yourselves up as a partner. Put yourself out there and think about yourself going through that, really trying to challenge what they believe to be true. Because
Mhm.
I'm trying to do it all the time. And don't get me wrong, sometimes it burns me, but at least, at least I'm walking away philosophically saying I am giving that person everything I can.
Yeah, that is why you and the team over there at Open House are my people, because I could not
Oh,
agree more. Thank you
awesome.
so much. Thank you so much for being here. This was really fun. Maybe we'll do another episode so we can dig in even deeper because, like I said, I had a whole list of questions that I didn't get to. But I don't want to keep you all day. For all of our listeners, thank you for being here. I hope that you come back for our next episode next week. We'll have another guest. It's sure to be an interesting conversation. And I just thank you for giving us your time today. Until next time, thanks for being here, and we'll see you again. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, Sarah.